Good morning. I apologize for all of the delays today with the technology, and I wish I could blame it on some system, but I think it's me. I also think there's some issues with the district controls as well. My name is Virginia Lowe, and today I want to talk to you about giving the kids something to talk about. It's interesting as I go into classrooms, I hear teachers either saying, come on, talk to me about this, or it's, hey, be quiet, shh, don't talk, stop that talking. So I think, first of all, we need to get our message clear that we do want our kids talking, but we want them talking with a purpose. And that's our job to help plan and make that happen. It doesn't happen just by chance. It takes careful, explicit planning to be sure that we are providing opportunities for kids to use academic language and to talk about the content, but also that we're allowing them to talk about how they're processing that. That's important for us to know. Are you understanding? What does this mean to you? How does this connect to your life? Have you had this thought about this before? Is this something new to you? And so most kids don't normally talk like that in real life. So it's up to us to provide those situations. And I think that's my first point is that we have to establish expectations that everyone in the classroom will be talking every day. And even if that means that they're using their native language, and it's okay for them to use their native language, there are times when you will insist that they use English for whatever level they're capable of. But I think it's okay that we allow students to use their native language um, to answer, and then we help them bridge that to English. That's very important because it is very disturbing to me when I go into English only zones. I want to rip those signs off the wall, or I hear teachers say no, only in English. Um, Kids should be able to use all of the skills, all of the abilities that they have to communicate meaning. Okay, enough on that. That's a whole nother subject, I know. And so if kids don't know what to say, whose job is it? It's our job to teach them what to say. So making sure that we have anchor charts, posters, sentence stems, structures in place for students to use. And also that we're allowing them to talk to one another. I love Zaretta Hammond. She's one of my heroes that I've never met that I would love to meet. But in her book, she talks about there are things that are essential that kids we need to make learning social. We should gamify it, and we need to storify it. I love those. Storifying, gamify, and make it social. Wow, how impactful would that be if every classroom did that? To make it social, meaning that we want them talking to one another. Kids can share language, get language from one another. And I even tell them, as a teacher, boys and girls, um, I don't come up with all the ideas that I have. I borrow them from my teacher friends. And sometimes I ask them for permission, and sometimes I just see it and I use it. And you can do the same with language. You can borrow words and phrases from other people that you think are really cool or good language that you want to use in your conversation. So, learning from each other is so important, making it social. And then by storifying it, we provide a framework for kids to bring all the content together. And I think of all the cultures, again, I could do a whole session on stories, but there's so much power in storifying it by making it a scenario, a situation that kids can relate to. And it's not wasting time when we do that. We're bringing in that background knowledge, and we're building on that academic language. And then by gamifying it, we're making it novel. Giving kids that brain break that they need. And that little edge of competition is never hurtful. Uh, just don't let it get out of control. Exactly, right? There are wonderful tools. Um, um, Quizlet, Kahoot. There are all kinds of things that you can use to gamify materials. There are people on Twitter who are experts at all of that, so I encourage you to check those out. So if we're gamifying it, we're storifying it, and we're making it social, we're putting it out there for kids, and we're setting that expectation that everyone is involved and everyone has a place. We're also, I think, it brings into to play that we have to be the ones preparing and planning. It's not going to happen just because. We have to be purposeful in our planning. First of all, what is it that we want kids to do, to learn? What is it we want them to do with the language? Are they going to be comparing and contrasting? Are they going to be describing? Are they going to be retelling? Are they going to be persuading? All of these different language functions have specific vocabulary and language structures that govern how we share that information. So, all of that has to be a part of the planning process. How do we teach kids to use that? How do we present that with graphic organizers, by providing mentor text where kids can see that structure? Um, Planning that is essential. And then preparing, as I said, making sure that they have a chance to look over those materials, that they have a chance to preview vocabulary or pre read something or read it in their native language before reading it in English, and having kids that they can talk about it. Again, excuse me, sharing that language, sharing that information, clarifying for themselves, and then sharing with the whole group. What that does is allow for them to lower that affective filter. And again, borrowing language from one another is essential. Having time, many opportunities to practice the content is a part of that. And so, what I'd like to do is take the last half of this just to share with you some very simple activities and resources that I've had. And again, as I told the kids, a lot of this is not new for me. The first thing would like to do is to take a minute in defense of Think, Pair, Share. I was in a classroom not long ago where I had suggested to a teacher, if have you thought about using Think, Pair, Share? Because the activity you did today, if you had used that, I think you would have got more bang for your buck. And her response to me was, "Oh, I tried that and I don't do it anymore because the kids they don't talk about the content." And she had a whole list of reasons. And it was really hard not to say, "Well, that's your fault." But it was her fault because I think it goes back to that planning and purpose. It's our classroom, we're the adult, we're in charge of setting the expectation. So Think, Pair, Share is a great tool to use because it allows us to chunk the content. It allows kids to have that little bit of a brain break where they can stop and talk to someone else and hear someone else's thinking that may clarify for them. It may help with misunderstandings that have taken place. And also, maybe they didn't understand how the teacher was explaining it, but the way their classmate says it makes more sense to them. Or they can hear it in their native language with a friend translating, and it helps them to do that. So, Think, Pair, Share is something that I really would encourage you to use. But it's important that as teachers that we're modeling that for kids. And it's also a great way for us as teachers to use. It's a great formative assessment where we can listen to students and gauge who's getting it, who's not getting it. Um, and it doesn't require a lot of prep time. The most important part of that is making sure that the quality of our questions and what we're asking kids to talk about is going to that depth that we need them to. Because if you're just asking them to do agree or disagree or yes, no, without the why, explain, show evidence, then it's not being an effective tool for you in the classroom. I also think it's important that kids know the why. Why are we doing it? Why are we using this? Why are we taking time to stop and talk to our friend and to explain to them? It's to help us clarify our thinking. It's a check to make sure everyone's understanding and with us. It's helping us learn from one another. It's helping the teacher to check and see what you're learning. So, and it's a way to keep reviewing the vocabulary. You come up with the reasons, and they can help you with that. Okay, so that's my thing in defense of Think, Pair, Share, and it's a great structure for getting kids talking. The other one is by another one that I learned um, from a Twitter friend is about chat stations, and I found this to be very effective with older elementary. I because I don't work with middle school and high school, but I can envision it working with them. But with fifth and sixth graders, I have had experience in science. We with landscapes, sorry, landforms. we uh, found scenarios that were related to the different landforms, and we posted around the room 6 different stations. And so the students went and they had an iPad and they scanned the QR code, and it showed the landform, and then they read the scenario related to that, and they had a response sheet. And so there were 6 different stations, and we rotated 3 times, and the students went to each one, and it was very powerful because um, they were using the academic language, they had the visual, they had the structures, the sentence structures were there on the response form, and because the teacher and I and 2 students modeled before they began what it shouldn't look like and what it should look like, I felt like it was very successful because it was very clear what the expectations were and the scaffolds and supports were there. And the students enjoyed it so much that once we came back and we discussed their 3 rotations, they asked to go back and finish, and so we did. The next day, we kept them up and we allowed them to do the 3 that they had not done. And that all started because I got the idea because I'd seen it on Twitter, but I had also seen these wonderful cards at my one of my favorite places, the Dollar Tree, and they had a set of cards that were animals, landforms, U.S. symbols, and lighthouses of all things. And there are these great little pictures, and then on the back, there's scientific information or data about the animal or whatever this picture is. And the last paragraph is always a writing prompt. But instead of writing, what we do with this is we use it as an oral response. And with older students, and if you have the time, you may go back and have them write. But for us, because we wanted kids talking, we had these really good, isn't that a cool picture of that iguana? So we talked about the kids with their partner would read the back. And if you can see on the back, I have highlighted what I think to be the important vocabulary or terms that I want kids to know. And they might have an activity the first day related to that vocabulary. And then the second day, they go back and they read it again and they respond to the oral response. And their oral response, they're practicing it with their partner. And then when they think they're ready, they can go choose one of the cards and they go to either Flipgrid, or they can take a picture of the card, do the little mouth and Chatterpix, and be the voice of the critter talking, or they can go to Seesaw. All of the items are eventually uploaded to Seesaw because that's a tool that our district uses uh, for student portfolios. Yay, I have one person watching. I'm so excited. So I'm talking about these great little cards that come from the Dollar Tree. And on the back, they have great scientific information. And I highlight what I think the key vocabulary, or sometimes it's interesting vocabulary. Like here, it talks about them basking in the sun. And this one even has an alliteration. The curved claws cling to the lava rock. So not only did we talk about the animal, we talked about the alliteration, we talked about the lava rock because they had just finished talking about landforms. And so the kids do the prompt on here was describe how this unique creature's habitats help it survive, and it gives them specific words to use: seagoing, predator, lava, lizard, Galapagos. And so as they respond, as I said, they can use Flipgrid or they can use the Chatterpix, and then it's uploaded to Seesaw, or they can go straight to Seesaw to record their oral response. And so it's a way to get them talking and using that science vocabulary. Another activity is this great little roller cube that I have. I came from the dollar spot at Target. I added Velcro dots, and then these are old pictures that I rescued from the curriculum that is out of date. Love these pictures, and they have Velcro on the back, and they attach right on the square, and the kids roll them. And so maybe they're looking at verbs, descriptive language, or it may be some science content related, and they have specific responses that they are giving for that with sentence structures and vocabulary. Another great dollar spot tool that I love are these little guys. Um, and if you notice, they don't have mouths. So you can talk about how the character, and they have come with their own erasable pen. And you can talk about how the character in the beginning, the middle, the end of the story, students use this for retelling. Uh, Even my fifth and sixth graders got a kick out of doing this. So these are great little resources. You don't have to have these, but another great way of getting kids talking. My other one um, is this is my very favorite are these 3D characters. Aren't they lovely? They came from the dollar spot, and we used them first when we were talking about fairy tales. We described the characters, who they were. We made our list of descriptive words. We read the stories, and then these were all in a station. And the kids, yes, wait for it. There's even a unicorn. The kids use these for retelling with a partner. Again, they use Flipgrid. They could use Chatterpix, or they went to Seesaw, and they also use those for creative writing responses. So there are lots of activities that we had that were hands-on, and we even have like situational cards. If you're stopped using, wait a minute, oh, da, 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 da. Let me find a good one. When someone lets you borrow an item of his or hers, what do you do? And these are just quick beginning of the day circle time type activities. We've even done simple things like everybody tell us what your favorite morning drink is, what's your favorite way to eat a hamburger without onions, without ketchup. Everybody goes around and gives a one answer. So there are many activities that you can use just to get kids talking. But for the academic, remember that we want to keep it what we have to think about: what is our purpose? How am I going to plan? What are the scaffolds that kids need? Can I keep it social? Can I storify it? Can I gamify it? Um, so those are the points that I have. I know my 15 minutes are up. And Blanca, I know you came in late, but do you have any specific questions for me? And I apologize. I've had all kinds of technology issues this morning. So thanks for your comment on the visuals. All right, then I'm going to go ahead and close out. Oh, okay, thanks. Feel free to look it over, and if you need to contact me, let me give you my email is vlow@aisd.net, or on Twitter, I'm low, I'm low, low. Thanks for joining me. All right. Mhm.